All right, so we're back for Act 5, Scene 5. So this is a short scene, but there's a lot of stuff that happens here that's really important. So Macbeth is saying, okay, well, they're coming towards us. I know that the English is out there to fight me. That's fine. I'm just going to hang out in Dunsinane Castle. I have everything I need to live it out for a long time here. They can lay siege to us. So back in the day, in like medieval times, when there were battles such as this, men and kings who lived in their castles and even cities would have giant walls around them. They could lock them up, that the outside attacking enemy wouldn't be able to get in, and you could live in your castle or in your walled city for years, as long as you had enough food. So that's what he's talking about here. Offstage, we hear women crying, and Macbeth says, what is that? And Satan tells him, well, the women are crying. Macbeth says, but why? Why are they afraid? I don't even know what it feels like to be afraid. And Satan tells him, well, the queen is dead. We had that foreshadowed before. Take away all the things that could hurt her. We don't want her to do anything to herself that might be tragic, and she did it. She ended up killing herself because of her guilt. And then the next line that Macbeth utters is a really famous soliloquy. It's called the Tomorrow and Tomorrow, Tomorrow soliloquy. So he says, she should have died hereafter. So she should have died tomorrow. How dare she die right now? There would be a time for such a word. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day to the last syllable of recorded time. And all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Out, out, brief candle. Life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage and then is heard no more. Is it a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing? So here we have Macbeth reflecting on the nature of life and what it is to be alive, and it is a sad, depressing reflection. Which is fair, because Macbeth, he is at this point in his life where nothing is going to plan, and he's caused a ton of murders. He's not living a great life, and so of course he's going to have a depressing, sad view of what life is. And so he uses a couple metaphors here. He says life is like a shadow, a player upon a stage. So once you're done acting, it's over. You just leave shadows of who you are. He talks about how life is like a candle, you get blown out. And the last thing he says is, life is a story told by an idiot. Like, that's not a really positive way to view life. But this is a famous soliloquy because it does give us some reflections on what does it mean to be human, and what does it mean to live, and what does it mean to live a good life. So that's something you can think about. Hopefully your idea of what life is not the same as Macbeth's, but maybe you're going through something hard and you can relate to him. So anyways, Macbeth is upset. A messenger comes in and he's like, oh my goodness, something cray-cray is happening. He doesn't want to tell Macbeth because Macbeth is going wild, but Macbeth makes him tell him, and the messenger says, I think I saw Birnam Wood walking towards us. And that is a trigger for Macbeth. And why would it be? Well, the witches told him he was safe until Birnam Wood came to Dunsinane. And so this is like, well, I guess I'm gonna die now because Birnam Wood is coming here. He's like, how could this happen? But he goes and he checks and he says, okay, well, I guess we'll have to go out there and fight, because then at least I'm gonna die with my armor on. And yeah, he realizes probably his world as he knows it as king is going to come to an end. Scene 6, we're back on the battlefield, okay? 3 people talking, Malcolm, Seward, and Macduff. They say, we've gotten close enough to the castle. Get rid of your branches. It's time to actually fight. We will meet Macbeth's army on the battlefield. So here we go, guys. It is time. Okay, so scene 7 has a couple of people entering and exiting. If you were staging this for a movie, you'd probably have different scenes. Like, you'd have them at one part on a battlefield and then some people at another part. But because we're on stage, they have to enter and exit. So they're not all coming to the same spot. Just know that. So Macbeth now is out on the battlefield, right? He has decided he cannot stay in Dunsinane Castle. He realizes that he is stuck here. He likens himself to being a bear in a bear baiting fight. He can't go anywhere, but he is raging and he will fight to his death. A man comes in. This is young Seward. So fun, right? Not not old Seward, this is young Seward, just to make things confusing. So this is Seward, the general's son, and he meets Macbeth and he says, "Who are you?" And Macbeth says, "You don't want to know my name. I will terrify you if you know who he is." And he's like, "You know what? I'm not afraid of you. I'm going to fight you." And Macbeth says, "All right, here we go." So they fight, and young Seward is killed. So now this gives some courage to Macbeth because he is able to kill this man. And the other prophecy that he received was that no woman born would ever kill him. No man of woman born would ever kill him. No woman, I guess, would kill him either. But no man born of woman would kill him. And so this gives him the courage because he says, "Oh, look, I killed this guy. He didn't kill me." Just proving that no one can kill me. So nothing to be afeared of. They leave, and then we see Macduff. He comes in. So he could be on the same place looking for Macbeth, or he could be at a different scene. He can hear that there's noise. He knows that something's happening. He knows there's a battle. He feels like it could be Macbeth, and he says, "I'm going to that sound. I'm going to where this is coming from. I'm not going to fight anybody unless it's Macbeth, because these people don't even want to fight for Macbeth, so there's no point in me killing anybody else. I will only kill Macbeth." And then he leaves, and then we have some more people coming in. Seward and Malcolm, they enter the castle. So they're like, "Oh, well, no one's here to stop us. The people that are supposed to be protecting this castle don't even really want to fight us. So in we go." And they enter the castle, and this is symbolic of Malcolm taking the throne. All right, so scene 8, our last scene of Macbeth. We have Macbeth wandering into the battlefield, and he is, again, quite depressed, thinking about his life. He's saying, you know, should I play the Roman fool and die? In Roman times, if you were in a situation such as this, to save your honor, you would kill yourself. It's kind of similar to the Japanese tradition of the honor suicide of seppuku. So you would rather die by your own sword than somebody else's sword. And then we have Macduff. And Macduff is pumped because he has found Macbeth, and Macbeth is the cause of all the problems in Scotland. But not only that, he has killed his family. So he wants his revenge, his manly revenge. So he's very excited. Macbeth says, "Oh man, like, really, you're here? I've already killed your entire family. I don't want to kill you. I have enough of your blood on my hands. Just go away." But Macduff won't allow that. He needs his revenge. So they fight. Macbeth tries to tell him that he's wasting his time. He says, you know, you might as well just entrench the air with thy keen sword. You might as well stab the air, because the witches told me that no man born of woman would ever be able to kill me. Macduff is like, "Ha ha! Well, just a surprise for you. I was not born of a woman. I was born from cesarean section." He says, "From my mother's womb, I was untimely ripped." So he was not born. He was ripped out of his mother's womb, and therefore he doesn't count. And Macbeth is like, oh, good, great. So not only did Birnam Wood walk towards my castle, now I've met this dude that wasn't actually born of a woman. Well, now I'm afraid. Macduff says, "Well, if you're so afraid, maybe you should just surrender, and we will put you in a cage, and we'll put a little sign on your cage, and we'll be like, 'Here lives the tyrant,' and everybody will make fun of you, and ha 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 ha." And Macbeth says, "Dude, no, I will not surrender." Also remember, he was a warrior. He was a great warrior. Went a little mad with power, but he will not do this. He says, "I will fight. Even though all of my prophecies have not come true, I will fight to the end." And so we just hear battle noises, and they exit, leaving the battle. Okay? Malcolm and Seward are talking about how they have now taken over the castle. They are basically the winners. Seward is told that his son was killed. Seward is like, "Oh, well, were his stab wounds on his front or his back?" So he really doesn't, I mean, I'm sure he does care, but in this act, he doesn't really seem to care. He just wants to know, was my son running away? So stab wounds on the back, or were they on the front? Did he stay and fight like a man? And Ross tells him, yes, they were on his front, and Seward says, good, then he died an honorable death. He is with God. I am fine with that. Because, as one is, I guess. And then the best part happens. Well, I don't know, because I love Macbeth, but they're just talking about it, and Macduff comes in, and he is carrying Macbeth's head. Womp womp. So there we go. We have the end of Macbeth's life. He has been killed by Macduff, you know, retribution, revenge, etc. Probably good. And this ends the tyranny of Scotland, and we now have Malcolm being hailed the King of Scotland. So this last part, we have Malcolm, he's talking to the people. He says, you will all be rewarded. He also says, I am no longer going to call you thanes, you will be called earls. So that's like the British or the English term for a lord. And he says, I'm going to fix everything. It is good that the dead butcher and his fiend-like queen, I mean, pretty harsh ways to describe Macbeth and Lady Macbeth, but also pretty appropriate. They're done. And they are off to Scone to be crowned king. And that's the end of Macbeth. So, I hope you guys really liked it. I love this play. I think it is so good. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, send me an email. If not, we will be done our quint. So